Reynolds. I'll be doing the JIRA Service Desk Suite demo for us today. Just by way of background, I've got about 20 or 22 years or so experience in IT and system consulting, and the last 12 or so of that in the ITSM and ITIL spaces. I'm ITIL Foundation V3 certified, I'm DevOps Foundation certified, and I'm also a certified JIRA administrator. So our topic today is right here in my sweet spot. So I wanted to start with just a slide or two overview, and then move on into our demonstration. So the first thing I wanted to mention was just a word or two about the end-to-end Atlassian solution. Now, Atlassian is the vendor that makes the JIRA Service Desk suite that we're looking at today, but JIRA Service Desk is actually just a part of their full end-to-end solution. It's a modularized solution that's intended to be able to pick and choose from the pieces you need, but when put together, it builds a full end-to-end solution for ITSM and DevOps and software development. You'll notice that we'll be looking at JIRA Service Desk mainly today, but Confluence is the collaboration solution that Atlassian provides that is integrated fully with JIRA Service Desk and provides the knowledge base for the Service Desk product. JIRA Software in Bitbucket are two of the software development solutions for managing the software development process and the code repository, and Bamboo is the CI/CD build tool. And you'll notice HipChat is the IM chat application that is integrated throughout the entire suite, which we'll also be looking at today as well. Now, one thing to note here is that there are over 20,000 teams that are using JIRA Service Desk today. It is just beginning its 4th year, so that's a really amazing number there. And actually, I think it's a little bit greater than that. I think 22 or 23 was the last I heard, but I wanted to be sure to be right here, so I stuck with 20. But what we'll be looking at today specifically is the JIRA Service Desk suite, which is a purpose-built ITSM suite for IT teams. So what we've got here is a way for your IT teams to not only interface with your users, but also your software developers if you do have software development of some sort in-house. And we find that these days every company is a software development company because everyone's got some sort of software that they are building and maintaining internally. And we're going to look at 7 of the process areas today. Knowledge management, the process for gathering and analyzing and storing and sharing knowledge and information around an organization. That functionality is provided in the suite by the Confluence application and the knowledge base that can be paired for your customers to review from the portal or from an agent perspective, and we'll see both of those today. Service request management is the process for filling minor changes like password resets or requests for information. That is one of the out-of-box ITIL certified processes in the JIRA Service Desk solution. Incident management is the process for handling service outages with the goal of returning the IT service to the users as soon as possible. That is also an ITIL certified process under the JIRA Service Desk. Problem management is the process for identifying trends or significant problems in order to be able to prevent new incidents from occurring and to minimize the impact of those incidents that can't be prevented. Again, one of the ITIL certified processes in JIRA Service Desk. Change management is the process for enabling beneficial changes to your infrastructure to be made with minimum disruption to your services. And that is another, and the 4th of the ITIL certified processes we'll look at in just a second in Service Desk. Asset management, on the other hand, is the process for maintaining information about your configuration items that are required to deliver a given IT service, including all the relationships between them. We'll see that that functionality is provided by the Insight Asset Management application, Addon, for JIRA Service Desk. And service level management, the process for negotiating those service level agreements with your customers and for designing services in accordance with those is supported by JIRA Service Desk, being able to add SLAs and OLAs to your process. So I'm going to do one last slide here just to highlight, again, those 4 processes for which JIRA Service Desk a year and a half or so ago has been ITIL certified by both Pink and Axelos for service request management, incident management, problem management, and change management. So enough of the slides. Let's move on to our live demo. Now, one thing I want to do before I break into the demo is just say a word about roles, R-O-L-E-S, roles in JIRA Service Desk. There's really basically two main roles. There's an agent role and there's a customer role. Now, customers are allowed to basically do three things in the system through the portal. They can search knowledge, they can submit new issues, and they can find and update existing issues. Agents, on the other hand, are the people that can do everything else in the system. They can open tickets for other people and transition them along their life cycle and resolve them, and confer with backline and create knowledge-based articles and all that sort of stuff. So in our demo today, I wanted to take this from the point of view of the customer first, and then after looking at the customer point of view a little bit, we'll toggle over to the agent point of view and take a look at things from their side. So one of the solutions in the Atlassian suite that is the newest is Status Page. Status Page was added to the Atlassian suite of solutions last fall, and Status Page is a single place for your users, either internal or external, to go to see the status of all the services in your environment. So I've begun recommending that we send customers directly to Status Page first to be sure that the issue that they are attempting to find out about or report has not already been reported. So we'll come in with our first scenario today that my customer's having some sort of issue with a voice service. So he or she would navigate to the Status Page and find out that, sure enough, we're having a voice service outage across all offices that started this morning. So on Status Page, we've got some branding and logo and color options, but the first main part of the page shows you any current service outages. So customers or internal users are presented immediately with the status of any major outages. There's some configurable items here in the middle about what the site is, and I've added a link here to our customer portal so that if a customer comes here to Status Page and doesn't see something to help them resolve their issue, they can go on to the portal and work more from there, which we'll do in just a moment. Here in the center of the page, though, we have a status of each of the services we've defined for our environment. So I can see that my email and internet and database services are up and functional, but I've got a major outage, like we mentioned, on the phone system, and we're seeing some degraded WebEx performance. There's also a place here for you to let users know about upcoming scheduled maintenance. So we can see that I have scheduled some maintenance for this weekend on our payroll system, so people know ahead of time that that's going to be happening. Then that's followed by a list of previous incidents in the environment. So we can see that we had some billing issue earlier today, and there was a billing system upgrade yesterday, which may have been the cause for that billing issue earlier today. I can see back on the 4th, we had some AC issues and an HR system upgrade. So this is a great way for you to communicate a status of all the stuff in your environment easily to your users. So we'll take another scenario here that my customer is having some network connectivity issues. So I don't see anything here on the Status Page about that. So I will follow this link here to the customer portal. And we're now looking at the JIRA Service Desk customer portal for the ITIL project that we're working with today. You can see I'm logged in here as my test user, Patsy Portal, who will be our customer today. And we'll take a few scenarios from Patsy's perspective. And the first thing we mentioned here was some sort of network issue that Patsy's having. So here in the center of the page, users can directly search knowledge. So if I begin to type, if I can type correctly here, network, I can see that I'm presented with several knowledge-based articles here. There's one that shows me some graphs and some steps to take some resolution. And we'll say that I followed these steps and that took care of what I needed. So I'm going to say that this knowledge article was indeed helpful. And that feedback from your users helps to populate some reports that we'll see at the end of our demo today on your knowledge-based article usage and effectiveness so that you can keep your knowledge-based article fresh and up to date. So Patsy here has come to the Status Page and the portal with two issues that she's been able to resolve herself. One because she knows has already been reported, and another because she was able to help herself here with knowledge. We're going to take two other scenarios here from Patsy, and we're going to say that she has a new job function that requires that she get a better laptop because she's going to have some requirements with the new job that's going to require a new laptop. So I'm going to choose to search through some of the different options for submitting requests here at the bottom of the page. So you'll see down the left-hand side, we've got categories of requests, and down the right side, the different requests in those categories. Now, the categories are really just labels on these requests, so you can put the same request in multiple categories. So you'll see this request a new account is an option under common request, but you'll see the same request a new account option here under login and accounts. And this lets you structure your knowledge base in a way, or in your request catalog in a way that it's easy for your users to find things. So we're going to make a hardware request here for this new laptop we need. So I can come down and I see in my common request I've got to request a new hardware option. So here I'm presented with a list of fields that my administrators decided that we would be gathering from our customer. So we'll say that I need a new laptop, and we'll say my old one is too slow. Now you notice as I began typing in this request that I'm presented with knowledge base article solutions that may help me. So if I skipped searching knowledge initially, I still have a chance here to head my customer off at the pass if I can provide some knowledge that might keep them from submitting this issue. Now, but in this case, these don't help me, so I'll go ahead and close that one out. And I've got an option down here at the bottom that's interesting. I've provided a drop down here. If we're submitting this request as a replacement for an existing device, please select the device that we're replacing. So what I've got here is a list of CIs from my CMDB that are related to this user, and I can say that the current laptop we've got is the one that we're going to be replacing. Now, as of the most recent releases of JIRA Service Desk, you've been able to group your customers into organizations. And that has been able to allow them to share requests with each other. So if this is enabled, you'll have an option for users to either share this request with their organization they're in, or to make it a private request so that only they can see this request. So after filling out the request, I would click the Create button here, and I'm brought to a view of my new request, giving me my new ticket number here, 2083. And I can see all the details that I provided on this request, and I can also see that it requires an approval, and I can even see who that approval is needed from, my manager, Mark Manager here. So I'm going to pop back out to this portal one last time with one final issue here for Patsy. We're going to say that she's trying to get to the ADP payroll system that our company uses through the link on our intranet, but it's not working, and she needs to report that issue. So I'm going to choose to report a system problem here, and we're going to say that we can't access ADP, that I get a maybe 404 error or something like that. And I'll go ahead and click Create to create our last and final issue here from the portal. So we've seen how customers can search knowledge directly in the portal, and we've seen how they can submit issues. The last thing I wanted to show you is how they can find and update their existing requests. So this request button up at the top of the portal is the way users can do that. And we have options for my request, things submitted by me. We have options for things that are related to my organization, if people have shared things in my organization with me, or a list of all requests that maybe I mentioned on or I'm watching. If I navigate down into that list, I can see the requests we just created here for needing a laptop and can't access ADP. If I drill down into one of those, I get right back to the place I was where I first submitted it so that I can see the details and comment on it if I choose to. And maybe we'll say, just for illustration's sake, that we need to make a comment here after we've submitted this issue. So I need to do my taxes still, so that they know this is important. And that comment will go directly to the agent that will be working this ticket. So we've seen how customers can use the customer portal. I want to leave the customer side of things now and toggle over to the agent view and sort of see what that looks like. So I've been working so far in my Firefox browser here as our Patty portal user. I'm going to toggle over to my Chrome browser where I'm logged in as myself, so you can see my picture up here. Now I'm going to be acting today as an agent in the system. I'll wear different hats as we go, but I'll be acting as an agent throughout. And when an agent logs into the agent interface, they're initially brought to the dashboard. Now, a dashboard is a collection of gadgets that are just visual representations of things in the system. So I've got one here mocked up to show me a record type I've created in my system of agent broadcast, which is a little way for me to keep agents up to date on things that are happening. And then this little dashboard gadget shows me anything that's current. So I've got that same voice service outage we mentioned mocked up here for the agents to see with a link to our status page. I've got a link here to the shift pass down log, which is really just a link to our HipChat room where my team can enter information at the end of their shift for the next shift to pick up. And I've got some silly things down here about a team outing this week and a link to our lunch menu. But there are literally hundreds of kinds of gadgets you can add to a dashboard. So here's one that shows counts of the different assigned groups by the different request types. A list here of issues that have missed their SLAs, some of them very badly because they've been in my demo system so long. But bar charts and pie charts and heat maps, there's literally hundreds of gadgets you can add to a dashboard. Now, you're allowed to have a single default system dashboard, but then you can have as many public or private dashboards as you'd like. So if a user wants to create one for their own use, they can do that. Or if a manager wants to create one for their group to use, you can use dashboards in any way that works well for you. One neat thing about any dashboard is that you can choose from this option here to view it as a wallboard. Now that'll take the dashboard and put it on a black background and put enough gadgets on it that'll fit on one page, and then it'll transition through those gadgets until it reaches the end and start over. So if you've got a TV monitor in a hallway or conference room or in your L1 support room that you want to keep some current statistics showing of your system, that's a great, easy way to do that. And that's all out-of-box functionality here. So once I land on the dashboard and glean whatever I need to glean from that after starting my shift or coming back from lunch, I would choose a project to work with. Now we're going to choose the service desk project that was paired with the portal we were using, but ultimately a project in JIRA is just a collection of issues treated in the same way. So we could have a service desk project like we're looking at today, or we could have a software development project, which we'll take a peek at today, or even a JIRA core project, which would be for maybe business use, like for marketing or finance or something. So when an agent comes to a service desk project, they're brought initially to the queue. Now, this list of icons can be expanded so you can see the words, but of course you can collapse that once you recognize these icons to save you a little screen real estate. Now, queues in JIRA are somewhat similar to queues in other service desk projects, but products. But I believe most products have queues that are tickets assigned to a team, period. And we can certainly do that. I've got tickets here assigned to my service desk team or my problem management team or my asset team or my field tick team. But ultimately, a queue in JIRA is just a criteria put against all the issues in the project to get you to a list that makes sense for some reason. So I've got one here, a queue showing the same agent broadcast that we saw on that gadget on the dashboard. I've got one here showing things assigned to me, one just showing all issues in my system or issues resolved in the last 7 days. You could do one for VIP tickets or one for things that are about to miss their SLAs. So queues are very flexible and allow you to get right down to the issues you need to get to at the time you need to get to them. So today, we're going to go look at a couple of the issues we submitted from the portal. But before we do that, I wanted to show you how to create an issue as an agent when you need to. So from the agent interface, you'll always have this Create button at the top of the screen. And you can use that to create a new issue. So the project defaults to the one I'm working in, but we'll say that I'm going to create a new incident here. And I want to show you a little widget that I've added for some template functionality that allows me to create some predefined issue templates to apply as I'm creating to make that process quicker. So we'll say that someone's calling in with a quick network password reset. So when I choose that template, that automatically populates my summary and description and any other fields that I have decided for that template to populate. I'll go ahead and update this customer from myself to our Patsy portal user. And I do want to also check this first call resolution button that I've added to my system. Now, this is something I've configured as an admin in my system so that if that's checked when I create a new issue, and anytime you create a new issue as an agent, you get a little pop-up with that issue, so you can click on that to drill down into it. But when I clicked that first call resolution button and said that this was an initial resolution, that's for things like little quick tickets like this network password reset. And I've defined that to move my status automatically to resolve, to meet all my SLAs, to automatically assign it to me, and to add a note here that this was automatically resolved by a first call resolution. So you can see how quick it is to create a ticket as an agent when you need to. So let me come back out to my queues, and we'll drill down into my Service Desk team queue, which is where I know these two requests from the portal have been routed. We'll go into this first need a laptop request here, and I'll go ahead and take control of this. But I would normally choose my workflow menu here to assign this to me, and I don't have that option. I wonder why. Well, that's because I need an approval here, and I've set up this particular kind of request that it can't move forward until I get that approval. So I'm going to toggle over to a third browser here, my Opera browser, where I'm logged in as Mark Manager. So you'll see his picture up here. And I can come to his request button in his portal. And in addition to my request and his organization and all requests, he has an approvals option up here because he's an approver. Now, approvers are able to interact with the system through the portal, and as long as they're just submitting issues there or approving issues, they don't need a license, just like the end users don't, and only agents need those licenses. So I can drill down into this approval request, and I could comment back and forth with the agent or with this customer to determine if I was going to approve this, but we'll go ahead and just approve it to get us moving forward. I'll toggle back over to my agent interface now and refresh, and you'll see that now I've received the approval from Mark Manager, and now I have my workflow menu so I can begin working this issue. Now, in the status, next to the status field on any JIRA issue, you can view the workflow that's related to that. And a workflow is just a collection of states that an issue can be in and the allowed transitions between them. So we see I came in here to a new status and only had the options of going into rejected or approved on that approval. But once I'm approved, I can go ahead and begin into progress and working this issue. So I'll go ahead and do that now. I'll choose from my workflow menu to begin work on this issue. I've defined that in my system as an admin to automatically move that to in progress and assign it to me, and doing that has met my acceptance SLA. Now you'll notice I have two SLAs defined here in my system, one to resolution and one to acceptance. If I hover over on this calendar icon, you can see that I'm working on a 9 to 5 clock here. So that 24 hours I've allowed for resolution is really 3 business days. Now that's the way those two SLAs have been defined for service requests. We'll notice in a minute when we come to that ADP issue that Patsy submitted that that's an incident and its SLAs are slightly different. So the next thing I'd probably want to do after I take control of the issue by beginning progress is probably let the customer know that I've got this. So I'm going to use another little widget down here called Canned Responses, where I've defined an initial response that I can enter, and that automatically populates the customer's name and my name, and then some static text here about that I've taken ownership of this issue and I'll be back with them. Now, anytime I comment on an issue in JIRA Service Desk, I have the option of commenting internally, which shares that comment only with agents, or to share that with a customer, which posts that to the agent view, but then also posts it to the customer's view in the portal, and can be configured to send the customer an email with that update too if you'd like. So I'll go ahead and share this with my customer so that Patsy knows that I've got this issue. Now, one thing I want to note here is that just like in the portal where knowledge-based article suggestions are offered as I begin to enter tickets in the portal, I also have knowledge-based suggestions here offered as an agent depending on the kind of issue I'm on here. Now, this is a request for this new laptop, and I have an option here for a knowledge-based article on preparing for a new PC. So maybe I want to go ahead and share that with my customer. And so if I click that share with customer, it puts a link down here in the comment, and I can go ahead and share that out with my customer to send them that knowledge-based article so they can do what they need to do to prepare for that new PC. So now that I've gotten my customer all set and they're aware that I'm working on this, the next thing I probably want to do is go find a new laptop for this user to replace this one that they've said is their existing device they want replaced. Now to do that, I'm going to come over to my Insight dropdown. Insight is the asset management add-on paired with JIRA Service Desk. And I'm going to drill down into my demo sandbox CMDB, which is the space that I've defined for all my CIs for this project. So you can see that I've got hardware and software and business services and so on and so forth. I'm interested in laptops at the moment, so I'll drill down into that. We can see we've got several that are deployed and a couple that are probably too old and are retired here, but I do have one in inventory, and I know that that's a good one for this user. So I'll go ahead and choose to assign that one to her. You can see that this one here is already assigned to her because that's her existing one. So after we went and pulled that one from Patsy after we deliver the new one, we'd probably want to come back in and update this record too, so to show that this is back in inventory. But for now, I'll just drill down into this new laptop for her, and we'll be sure to edit it, and we'll take it out of inventory and show that it's deployed, and I'll be sure to assign it to her as well so that it shows up in her list of assigned items. So now we've updated our CMDB, I can come back over to my ticket, and I would go pull that laptop from the shelf and deliver it. And maybe as I do that, I want to send out one last little response here, is that I'm on my way with your laptop. And then after I deliver that, I'd probably want to come back and close this on out. So to do that, I choose the next workflow transition to resolve this issue. Now, this one, I choose a resolution for this that's been from the list defined in my system. I could even log some time here that I've spent. Maybe I spent 2 hours working on this. So when I choose that resolution, I go to a resolved state in a resolution of done. And we see that we've met all of our SLAs now because our resolution has been completed. And we are all done with this particular issue now. So I'm going to toggle back to my Service Desk queue one last time to find that last issue that Patsy submitted, and it's this can't access ADP. So maybe I'll go ahead and take control of this one as well. You'll notice that I'm on an incident here, though, as opposed to a service request, because this report a system problem request type I submitted from the portal is mapped on the back end to an incident type, and therefore has an incident workflow and has incident SLAs related to it. So in this case, I only have an hour I've allotted to acceptance and 8 hours to resolution, as opposed to the 2 hour and 24 hour I had allowed in my demo system for service requests. So I want to go ahead and begin working this one, and that's going to take me into progress and meet my acceptance SLA. And then I need to begin to figure out what's going on with this. So maybe I want to go look at my knowledge base. Now, we looked at a customer knowledge base that was paired with the portal, but I've also listed a link to my agent knowledge base here in my project shortcuts. So if I click on that, that's going to open up a Confluence space that I've dedicated to my agent knowledge base, where I can begin to search for a solution. So I'm going to look through my runbooks here that I've got defined, and let's see, we'll look at this one, and we can drill down through these text-rich and image-rich and even video-rich knowledge base articles, and we'll say that I've followed all the steps here and I still don't know what's going on. So I've done all I can do on my own. So I need to confer with some backline on what's going on here. So to do that, I can come down to my comments section, and if I begin to @mention, if I use the character, that'll allow me to begin to @mention someone in my system. So I can choose to talk to Adam Asset, another agent in my system, and ask him, what is the problem here? Now this time I'm going to just come in internally so Adam gets that notification, but that's shielded from the customer. So Adam could come back in and chat with me back and forth and let me know that he's seeing a lot of ADP issues this morning, and he believes that this is a bigger issue than just this one incident. So what we need to do here is open up a problem investigation. So I'm going to choose to do that here. From my More menu, I can choose to create a linked issue. And then instead of creating an incident this time, I'm going to create a problem request. And we'll say that ADP is not working on the intranet. And we'll get this over to our problem team, and I click Create. Now, when I create as an agent, I always get this little pop-up like we did the first time. But because I created a linked issue, I have a permanent link on my incident over to my problem, and a permanent link on my problem back to my incident, so that those two are always joined and you can get from one to the other easily. So I know that there were several other issues in my environment around ADP that Adam alerted me to. So I want to go ahead and link all the issues that are in my system on this related to this problem. So I'm going to come in and search for ADP issues, and sure enough, I can see that I've got 3 more that have come in this morning. And I'll go ahead and add those to this problem as well. So now that I've got all my issues linked here, I can begin to work this problem request. So I'll put on my problem hat and begin this investigation here. And what I might want to do now is open up some lines of communication around these. So we saw that I could chat internally with someone on a specific issue in the comments. But the HipChat integration with JIRA Service Desk, now HipChat is the IM chat application provided by Atlassian paired with their solutions. The integration with HipChat here allows me to create or choose an existing chat room. And when I do that, I can invite people here to chat with me. And I'm not sure if you saw what I did there. Once the button went away to create or choose a chat room, I get a link to the chat room that is now permanently linked to this issue. So if I click on that, that's going to open a HipChat window and show me that any new notifications or updates about this issue are going to show up here in this chat room. So now if I come back to my issue and maybe just say this will show in chat, well, if I spell that right, and I'll go ahead and comment internally. If I then go to my chat room again, you can see that that comment has been added to the chat room, and we can see who made it and when, and people can comment back on this in the chat room. The beauty of the HipChat integration is that while it's easy to chat in comments on a given issue, when I have more than one issue involved, such as this problem and these related incidents, I can open up each of these related incidents and add this same service, this same chat room to all of them. So now that everybody chatting on all these issues is chatting in the same place about the same thing, and all that history is permanently kept here with the issue. So we're going to say that what my backline has determined is that the problem is ADP has updated their URL and has not told us. So I've got a couple things to do at this point. I need to toss a new knowledge base article out in our knowledge base to let people know about this workaround, because they could go directly to adp.com instead of trying to go through our intranet in the meantime while we're fixing this issue. And then I want to get something going for a permanent fix for this. So the first thing I might want to do is create a knowledge base article here. So I can do that directly from the issue by clicking Create a Knowledge Base Article. And when I do, I'm presented with a couple of options to choose for templates. And we're going to make this one a troubleshooting template. And when I do that, it opens up a new Confluence page in the knowledge base where I can say, maybe just go to adp.com directly. Now, I would fill this out a little bit better, but you get the idea here. I'll go ahead and save this. Now, I could wrap a process around that knowledge base article so that it has to be approved before it's available, but in my environment, I haven't done that. So if I were to toggle over to my customer view one last time and search for ADP, I not only see a how-to article that was already there, but I now see this not working article, which hopefully will prevent new users from submitting issues on that same problem. So I'm going to come back to my agent console now that I've created my knowledge base article, and I need to find out where the problem is we need to fix. So I'm going to come out one more time to my CMDB so we can look at where the problem might be here in my environment. So I've got a type of CI here called a business service. And in that, I've defined a company intranet service as my business service, which is where that adp.com link was on my intranet. And so from here, I can see that this is supported by two pieces of architecture. Infrastructure. I've got two servers, Internet A and B. I've got an application that runs on those. And I even got a way to graph that functionality here so that I can visually look at those and drill down through different pieces of the related infrastructure. So we're going to say it's these two servers, A and B, that I need to link to this problem to indicate that that's where the issue is that needs to be fixed. So I'll edit this issue real quick, and we'll come down to the CI field I've added, and we'll navigate down into our CMDB and choose those two internet servers that we just found. And when I link those, they get added to the issue here, and when I hover over, I can see details, and I could even drill right down into them again if I wanted to get to the CMDB record from the issue. So now we've got our CIs linked here, and the last thing for us to do is get a ticket over to our software development folks to fix this problem with our intranet application. So to do that, I'm going to take this workflow transition that I've created for creating a development issue. That's going to pop me up a dialog here where I enter a summary here. So we're going to say ADP link needs to be updated. And we'll just say it's wrong, maybe. Probably could do a little more with that there, but I'll also choose that this is related to my company intranet service. And I've got this development issue functionality so that the service chosen by the user at this point determines what development project that'll get created in. So when I click Create Development Issue, the system spins through and automatically creates a linked issue related to this problem request. And if I open that up in a new tab, you can see I'm on my original problem request, 2086, here in my ITIL Service Desk project with my queues and customers and reports. My new issue, however, has been created in the software development project, which has its related backlog and active sprints and releases, all the things that you would need to do to develop software. So I've created a linked issue over here, and there's a link back to my Service Desk issue from this software issue so that those two records can stay in sync and people can communicate across them. I've added some automation so that when I choose to move this to in progress as a software development person, if I were to come back to my problem request and refresh that, you'll notice the system has automatically added a comment that the status has been updated on the linked requests. So in that way, you can keep up to speed with what happens over on the development side. So we'll say that they've gone ahead and finished the development here. We'll go ahead and close that out. And if I refresh, we can see that the issue has been closed here. So we now know that my software development piece has been completed. I can go ahead and continue investigation, and the next thing we're going to do is create a related change request to implement that new code provided by the software developers. So I'm going to choose one last time to create a linked issue, and this time we're going to choose a change request instead of a problem request, and we'll just leave the defaults here. We get a new link to change request, and I'll drill down into it. We won't do too much here, but I do want to show you that this process is a little more complicated. The way I've defined changes in my system, I come into an approval from a department level, and if I pass that, I get a CAB approval, and then I can begin planning and scheduling my change. Of course, you might have approvals at the middle of this process or at close down at the end, wherever makes sense for you, but this is the way this one's defined in my system. So the first thing I want to do is begin working on this, but again, I need an approval to do that. So I'm going to toggle over one last time to my Mark Manager's portal here where he has a new request to approve this change for ADP. We'll let him do that. And you'll notice if I refresh my agent interface here, we see that Mark has approved, but now we need Corey Cab to approve as well. So I'm going to go to my last and final browser, my Internet Explorer browser here, where I'm logged in as my Corey Cab, and drill down into this request again. And he can see that Mark has approved, and now we're waiting on his approval. And we'll go ahead and approve as Corey so we can move this forward. One last time, I'll come back to my agent interface and refresh, and now you can see that I can begin working this issue. And the first thing I want to do is plan it. So the first thing I need to decide when I begin to plan this change is when I want to do it. So I want to close that for a moment and show you that I've linked a forward schedule of changes here in my project shortcuts. And if I open that up, you'll see that's a team calendars for Confluence calendar that visually displays JIRA issues based on the date fields on them in a calendar format. So this is the way I can see what has been requested and what has been scheduled and the actual changes that have completed. I've got the actual showing in green here from the last couple weekends, things that have been done. And I've got one scheduled here for this weekend for a router reboot, but the rest of the weekend looks pretty good. So I think we could probably go ahead and schedule that on the 20th and go ahead and get this in. So the next thing I would do would be to update this change with that information and work it through its process. One thing I didn't note that I wanted to point out is after my second approval got received, my system has been defined by an admin to automatically create some subtasks here on this change for planning and building and testing and implementing the change. Now, these are just the ones I've defined in my fictitious demo environment, so those could be subtasks that make more sense to you, but just wanted to point out that that is a possibility. So as the change person would close this out, we would come back to the problem investigation and verify that the problem has been resolved and go in and verify with each of your incident submitters that everything's wrapped up and good to go, and we would close the rest of this out. So we've seen how you can work an issue all the way through here as an agent. I wanted to show you the last thing here is just some reports. So in my reports section, I've got reports on workload here showing that I'm way overworked and need some help. I've got some reports on how we're doing on SLA goals, and we're doing pretty good on acceptance in my system here, but really bad on resolution. We've got some satisfaction survey reports here. Now, as I complete and resolve an issue, the system can be set up to send a survey question to your users with a configurable question that you can determine with a 5-point scale. And when users respond, those responses show up here in my satisfaction survey report. So I can not only see the comment provided by the user, but also the rating provided. I can even drill down into the issue that the comment was provided on and see that feedback directly on the issue so that I can remediate any problems I have or hopefully congratulate someone for the good work that they did. We've got knowledge article reports here on usage and effectiveness we mentioned that are powered by the feedback provided by your users, and different custom reports down here at the bottom. Now, these reports here, in addition to the ones on the dashboard, are visual roll-up reports that give you a quick glance at a particular metric and a way to drill down into those. If you do need to be able to just dump a list of records from the system, you can do that from an issue search here. So if I were to come to my issue search and choose some sort of filter, we'll say that we just want to look at things for my ITIL Service Desk project we were working with today. When I execute that search, you can see that I'm now only looking at those issues, and I can filter this down as much as I need to, given whatever criteria makes sense. And then I could export these records either to PDF or to CSV or to a Word document if I need to ship this off to somebody. So that's about all I wanted to show you today. Hopefully that's been helpful for you. I think maybe we have some time now to look at questions that may have come in.
Hey, great job. Way to go, Alan. I really enjoyed that presentation. You got everything in. and I think in 50 minutes, right? I mean, you got requests, you've got configuration management in there. You showed a little bit of change management. So you were busy. So you worked hard. Okay.
I hope I didn't lose anyone.
So anyway, well, yeah, you were agile, like we were talking about anyway. But,
right.
One of the questions that has come up has to do with the CMDB, and someone has asked, is the CMDB a free add-on into JIRA? And I guess the answer, it's not free, but it's almost free. But then, could you also? I'm also curious about how do you showed when you went through the demo how you can sort of update the CMDB, but how can you populate the CMDB to begin with?
That's actually a good question. Let's take a look at that. So there are basically two different ways you can do that. You can load data manually into the CMDB, or you can have it uploaded automatically. Now, there are a couple different ways to do the automated upload. If you have a network discovery tool that is already surveying your network and can produce a CSV file, you can either do a process to do a upload of that data on some sort of interval, or you can even link a spreadsheet somewhere on a available file system, and anytime JIRA sees or Insight sees the update to the spreadsheet, it will import those updates into the CMDB. Now, if you don't have a discovery tool that you already are using, one great option here is the Insight Discovery tool that is paired with the Insight Asset Management application. And I've run that here on my demo system, and everything under the Insight Discovery roll-up is what Discovery finds. So I've got a list of hosts that have been discovered here on my system, and here's the one we're working on today. And the Insight Discovery automatically found the CPUs related and other machines related to that, as well as its name and current RAM and free space, as well as all the applications and services and things that are installed on this system. So Insight Discovery is a great way to automatically populate your Insight CMDB if you don't already have something that's discovering things on your network.
Right. And when you work with RightStar, we can help you put all these different pieces together. So Insight would be an add-on, but it's an inexpensive add-on, and we can help so that when you order everything, it all comes at one time, so to speak, and then we can help you get it up and running as well. Okay, next question here is, where do you configure canned response? Is that in the knowledge management section? Do you know what? Yeah.
Canned responses is one of the add-ons to JIRA, in addition to the issue templates we looked at. And that's all configured in the add-on section of the administration section of the tool. That admins would get to. So from over here in the add-on section. But as an true end user agent, you would never actually directly interface with that.
Okay, so it's easy to do.
Mm-hmm. You bet.
Next question, and by the way, if anybody has any, these are great questions, but if anybody has any others, feel free. There's a Q&A box to submit your questions. Next one up here is, any news on when, if ever, Atlassian will allow group-based ticket assignments? Do you know what he's asking?
Yeah, so in my system, I have a construct that I've added for a group assignment. So when we go to look at, say, one of these issues, like this new laptop issue that we were looking at today, I've added an assign group field that looks at the groups in my system. I believe the question is around, will that functionality ever be out of box? And unfortunately, at the moment, I don't have an update on that. I do know that Atlassian is aware that most of the ticketing systems work on that sort of support team, and those teams are made up of members concept. And I do know that they are continually releasing new updates and new functionality. So the way that they work on that functionality could be any day now. And actually, I've also heard that they may be working on an integrated canned responses type functionality that would eliminate the need for the add-on as well. So the Service Desk project is just going on into its fourth year now. So Atlassian's hard at work trying to make it as useful and wonderful as possible.
Okay. And I think we had just discussed previously that for existing customer, we had set up some sort of round robin approach for ticket assignment. Mm-hmm. Do you know how that works? Is that's required a little bit extra on our part to get that going?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
So ultimately, the Atlassian platform is open for third parties to create integrations, which ultimately are called add-ons. And those integrations could be to other systems or could be additional functionality added to the current system. And we, RightStar, have developed an add-on that we don't have in the marketplace yet, but that we do offer to customers that allows them to do that sort of round-robin assignment through a team. So that you can make those individual assignments automatically.
Okay, so it's a simple thing to do. I know there's other tools out there a lot more sophisticated and obviously a lot more expensive. like Smatters is a good example where you can set up some automatic round robin or automatic alerting, page different notifications that can go out, and of course you pay for something like that. And JIRA, the nice thing about it is it can be integrated to other packages like that, or you may just say, well, we don't really need all that functionality, but we just want some of it. So what you're saying is you can do it without having to pay the extra price for a more expensive add-on product, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Totally agree.
All right. Here's one more question. We're running out of time, so now would be a good time to ask questions. But can we integrate JSD with LDAP or Active Directory, and do we offer single sign-on?
You bet on all of that. So there are basically 3 deployment options for JIRA Service Desk. There is the Atlassian Cloud version, which Atlassian suggests is for small teams of 4 or 5 people who want to put that on a credit card. And it's a great place, they say, to try their software. The server deployment is an on-prem installation where you would maintain that. And there's also a data center deployment, which is like the server installation, but the server installation is a single server, where the data center deployment is multiple nodes that are in concurrent usage to allow for performance at scale and high availability and those kinds of things. In both the server and data center model, the integration with Active Directory or LDAP is out of box. Unfortunately, the Atlassian Cloud deployment option does not support LDAP integration at all. However, it does have a new beta version of SAML's authentication. So while you couldn't do an LDAP integration there, each of the deployments do support SAML now.
What about single sign-on? How would that work?
Yeah, that can also be done too, either at the browser level or the OS level.
Okay, so in other words,
if
you had a CAT card or something, like you were a government customer, you used a CAT card to sign on, then you could figure out how to make it all automatically sign into JIRA, so you didn't have to enter another password. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that brings us to a conclusion here. Again, Alan, thank you very much. I certainly appreciate your good job today, and thank